You alright? It's time for the Here's How. And this week, here's how to hide your mince. Get yourself a vacuum sealer, and when you finish each bag of crisps, stick about 32 grams in each bag and seal it back up and add it back to the multi-pack in the kitchen cupboard. After you've refilled each bag, reseal that larger bag and simply pop it in the box under the stairs with all the others. The last thing you want is people noticing your pocket meat in your trousers, so get yourself an extra tighter pair of trousers to wear underneath your joggers so that you can have a good 80 or so grams in each pocket without it being visible to other people in the shopping centre. That way, you don't have to sacrifice carrying your keys, wallet and phone either. Plus, the mince stays warmer. You could keep sending it out in the post to yourself. A pricey way to conceal your long, thin, cylindrical beef, but an effective way of hiding it from a suspicious spouse or doctor. You can get proper strong magnets now for attaching tracking devices to your neighbours' cars, so you can catch them bringing in their weekly shop. But what about popping a couple of those in a Tupperware box full of mince and attaching it to the underside of your car? No one in their right mind is checking under your car for your unseasoned chuck. You need to be cautious if you're going to keep a lot of it in the garden, but you could protect it from potential pests by using wire fencing to keep away larger predators like foxes and badgers, a chalk ring to keep ants at bay, and a copper circle to keep the slugs and snails out of it. However, you will have to make sure you properly research your local wildlife and neighbours' mental capacity to make sure that they can't figure out that you've got kilos of ground up dead cow hidden underneath your decking boards. You can easily sew a thinner beanie to your casual winter beanie, and if you waterproof it so that your head sweat can't affect the integrity of the meat, you could keep a couple handfuls wrapped around your skull, conveniently a half arm's reach away and right under the nose of any taller beef enthusiasts. It can be embarrassing to unveil your mince in front of officials like train ticket inspectors, so sometimes it's best to leave the house with your bags of steak worms in a shopping bag, hidden in plain sight, mate. Nobody will ever suspect that you left the house with those bags of mince in that shopping bag. They'll just wrongly assume that you've bought all of those bags of mince from the butcher's. If you're attending a friend's funeral and you'd like to share a bit of mince with them in the afterlife, like how Pharaoh's families would leave some jewels and a slave with the dead Pharaoh, then you could bring a bit of mince. Not much, as it's going to have to be concealed, because there's nothing worse than being outed as a mince carrier at a religious function. People are just going to accuse you of making the day about yourself, and they're not going to understand or even care to fathom why you might bring your mince with you to your friend's burial. Now, I wouldn't normally recommend this, but a bit of cooked mince might be more appropriate in this situation. Make sure it's dried so that the grease doesn't appear on your suit when the fighting starts at the wake. You don't want people calling you a greaser or something like that whilst they're punching you. It'd just be embarrassing. Then, as people throw dirt on the coffin of your dead mate, you can pretend to pick some dirt up off the ground and release some of the sleeve mince in your palm using that stringed release device you built the night before that attaches to your cufflink. You may even be able to openly fidget with your cufflink to release the mince, because people are just going to think you're emotional and fidgeting because of the death of this particular co-worker. They might even comfort you and offer to buy you a drink later, or even stick up for you in the family brawl in the car park. Upon releasing the cooked mince into your palm, you can throw it down on your acquaintance's coffin, just disguised as dirt, and then the dead man's body of the funeral you crashed gets a bit of mince to remember you in the afterlife. It can be hard to navigate your daughter's parent-teacher evening as a card-carrying mincer, as you don't want all the other teachers bullying her for her dad coming to support her while she talks to her students' mums, let alone them lot finding out that you've got a pound of room-temperature minced beef on your person and you don't even have a child attending the school. Moral support can often be hard to offer, but there is a current fashion trend of high-soled shoes, so you can easily carve out some of the sole of the shoe and pack that full of mince. The mums and dads are going to think you're a trendy guy, your daughter knows that her dad cares about her career choices, and you can have your ground beef, as the Americans call it, as close to you as possible without rousing suspicion. Bringing your mince to work can be tricky as a self-employed person, but there's lots of ways that you can secrete your meat without your customers ever catching on. Let's say you're a carpet fitter, right? There's loads of empty space in a Stanley knife. Most people are just going to assume there's spare blades in that handle, but not in yours. You've got about 15 grams of mince in yours. And let's say you're a travelling fish salesman. The last thing you need is your customers seeing that you keep beef in the van. And of course, you need to keep it on your person, otherwise what's the point of bringing it with you? So you could have a to-go coffee cup in your van, right? But double cup it. Or, better yet, false bottom your coffee cup. It looks like there's coffee in there, but under that coffee, there's a 1/4 pound of mince tightly compacted, keeping your coffee weighted down so it doesn't spill in the van, keeping you relaxed because you can carry it in your hand, and you can place it down in front of the customers. They'll never know. And also, on the plus side, if one of your lovely customers offers to refill your cup, they shouldn't ever be able to find that beef. And that's the end of this week's Here's How.